منك يا مولى البرايا أشرق النور المهاب وأضاء بالكون يجلى ما له فيه احتجاب ما له مطلق الذات الحقيقي نور شمس لا تزال تتلالى بالمعاني ما لها فيه غياب علي باشد بحق واصل علی گویم علی جویم علی حیدر علی صفدر علی مونس علی دلبر علی بود یار پیغمبر علی گویم علی جویم علی گویم علی جویم علی گویم علی جویم
نور علی گوراج مبارک ہووے میرے مولا یا علی 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 مدد یا علی مدد ہووے 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 آج نور علی کن راج مبارک ہو نور
Yalmadad, welcome, bienvenue. Thank you for tuning in to another Friday Night Reflections. My name is Saba Rawjani, and I'm honored to welcome all of our Jamati members, multi-faith family members, and everyone tuning in from across the globe. I'm coming to you from my beautiful hometown in Ottawa, and it is such a pleasure to be hosting tonight's episode. I also hope you all had a wonderful Family Day weekend and got a chance to spend some time together and go out, Perhaps you were able to enjoy the snow. I, on the other hand, decided to stay with my family indoors, play with my puppies, and of course ate a lot of my mom's delicious cooking. I hope you all also enjoyed last week's episode on COVID vaccines, where our panel of experts answered many of your questions on the vaccines. Now, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us on the survey at the end of the show, and we will direct your questions to our healthcare experts. You also can check out the COVID Corner page on iicanada.org, which has a lot of great up-to-date information to keep you and your family informed. You know, some of my friends and family members were able to get their vaccines this week as healthcare workers, and it looks like we are ramping up to get vaccines for more groups very shortly. I was able to get mine a couple days ago, and I'm so grateful for it. This week, we also saw the Mars Perseverance rover land in a crater on Mars, looking for signs of ancient life and collecting soil samples. And if you've also been stuck at home and haven't been driving much lately, think of Farah Alibay of Montreal, who was driving this week. She was in charge of remotely driving the rover on Mars for NASA. Congratulations on making history, Farah. So let's talk about tonight. I'm so excited for tonight's episode entitled A Symphony of the Soul, as we explore devotional expressions from the Ismaili tradition. Can you believe it? It's almost been a year since Jamaat khanas were first closed, and just like all of you, I'm really missing the feeling of being in Jamaat khana and being together with all of you. And because of that, I'm so looking forward to hearing from Dr. Shafique Virani on how we can look to our traditions in forms of devotional expressions to find strength in our faith to traverse these turbulent times. We will then hear from some of you on this topic and finish, as always, with some musical expressions. And now, I warmly welcome back to the show Dr. Shafique Virani. Dr. Virani is a professor of Islamic studies at the University of Toronto. He was previously on the faculty of Harvard University and was later the head of World Humanities at Zayed University in the UAE. After earning a joint honors degree with distinction in religious studies in Islamic studies at McGill University, he completed his PhD at Harvard University. His scholarly work has received awards from the United Nations, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, the Middle East Studies Association, the Foundation for Iranian Studies, Harvard University, the International Farabi Prize, and the British Kuwait Friendship Society Prize. He is also the recipient of the International Book of the Year Award from the Government of Iran. Professor Virani's research and publications focus on Islamic history, philosophy, Sufism, Shiism, and Islamic literatures in Arabic, Persian, and South Asian languages. And with that, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Virani.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya Ali Madad. The last time I had the opportunity to speak with everyone on Friday Night Reflections, we discussed the gracious guidance and blessings in our beloved Imam's Talika of March 28th. I began by telling the story of another pandemic, the bubonic plague, that reached India in 1897, killing some 10 million people there alone. Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah offered his personal bungalow as a lab to his friend, Dr. Waldemar Halfkind, who then developed the first plague vaccine. What I didn't have a chance to tell you is what happened next. Though Dr. Halfkind had produced a vaccine, he faced another major challenge: getting people to take it. Rumors were rampant, and many Indians even believed it was a British colonial plot to poison the public. When hardly anyone would get vaccinated, Dr. Halfkind turned to the Imam with one more request. Your Highness, your followers obey your every word. If you can convince them to vaccinate, others will follow their lead. Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah was only 20 years old. How would he persuade the population to get immunized? In his memoirs, he describes this as his first battle in life. He writes, I had to act swiftly and drastically. The impact of the plague among my own people was alarming. Most Mumbai Ismailis lived in Mandvi, where the disease was spreading like wildfire. The Imam called members of both the Jamaat and the general public to Aga Hall and had Dr. Hafkind give a speech explaining the vaccine to them. When the Imam saw that everyone was still petrified and unwilling, he rolled up his sleeve and told the doctor to vaccinate him. This stunned the audience. However, seeing their Imam being publicly immunized, all the Ismailis immediately followed. This gave courage to everyone else. As the Imam writes, "Within a short time, statistics were firmly on my side. The death rate from plague was demonstrably far, far lower among Ismailis than in any other section of the community." Later that year, 80-year-old Queen Victoria invited our 20-year-old Imam to Windsor Palace. She praised him for his service to humanity, including his fundamental role in saving lives during the plague, and awarded him the title of Knight Commander of the Indian Empire. With our Imam's guidance, just as we surmounted the plague and reached out to support our friends and neighbors, we will surmount COVID-19. However, it won't be easy. We have already lost so many livelihoods and so many lives. Families grieve and bury loved ones alone. Today, I'd like to touch on 3 topics. The role of adversity in strengthening our faith, how our faith helps us ease adversity, and finally, one time-tested tradition to carry us through this crisis and help us emerge even stronger. In 1853, Imam Aga Hassan Ali Shah visited Kathiawar for 3 days. A 65-year-old volunteer named Ismail worked day and night to help prepare everything for Molla's visit. Later, that same Ismail traveled to Mumbai to volunteer for the Imam's mulaqat there. When Molla arrived at the Didar Hall, he saw Ismail. He was furious and said, "Ismail, I know how badly you treated my son Aga Ali Shah in Kathiawar." He then left without giving Didar. This stunned the Jamaat and left people in tears. For 3 days, the Imam refused to bestow Didar. People were enraged with Ismail and blamed him for this terrible situation. Ismail was crushed, but through those 3 days, despite the criticism, he humbly continued his volunteer duties. On the 4th day, Imam Aga Hassan Ali Shah summoned him to Vardi and said, "Ismail, I tested your faith harshly, but it was as strong as Mount Girnar." The Imam lavishly praised Ismail's patience and explained, "I was testing you to see if you were the right person to care for my spiritual children. I appoint you the vizier of all of Kathiawar." Molla then showered his blessings on Ismail. As you may have guessed, Ismail was none other than the famous Vizier Ismail Bhai Gangji, one of the most courageous Ismaili leaders in our history. When Vizier Ismail passed away in 1883, Imam Aga Ali Shah himself came to lead the prayers at his grave. Vizier Ismail was given the posthumous title of Pir. But look at the test the Imam put him through. Throughout our lives, we will face many tests. This pandemic, loss of loved ones, health issues, financial struggles, and other suffering. But these ordeals will make us stronger. Bir Sadruddin has explained, "Kasrani vina koi na sida." Without being tested, nobody can attain salvation. In the ginans Satvrani Moti, Sayyid Nur Muhammad Shah speaks of the trials and tribulations of our holy prophets, from Hazrat Adam to Prophet Muhammad. He then gives a stirring parable comparing their hardships with how gold is tested. सोना वही साच है जो बाहिए अगन अजमाए धमड़े धम धम जालिए सत ना छोड़े ताएं. We only know genuine gold when fire and forge test its purity. No matter what adversity it endures, it never loses its color. Brass may look like gold, but it can never pass the touchstone test. In the same way, a true mu'min suffers all tribulations, never wavering. Beyond our daily prayers, our Imam has encouraged us to use our tasbih to call on the divine names when we're in distress. At times of adversity, reciting Surah Nas and other particular chapters of the Quran is very common among our Syrian and other Jamats. In Tajikistan, the Ismaili film director Umid Shah Mirzo-Shirinov recently released a movie called Mushkil Kusha, The Unraveler of Difficulties, a title of Imam Ali. The film is about the Pamir Ismaili tradition of seeking solace from Mushkil Kusha at times of hardship. Mirzo-Shirinov's movie won the Swiss prize for the best Tajik film at the International Film Festival. Across the Pamirs, and in places like Hunza, Gilgit, and Chitral, recitation of Awrad al-Mu'mineen, composed in utter humility by our 17th century Da'i, Hussein ibn Yaqub Shah, is very common. Ey to amurzagar u bakshande, ma siyar ruzgar u lakshande, ey ze to ghairi jud u ihsan na, wa ey ze ma ghairi zamb u isyan na. ما ز شرم گناه در اندیشه مر تو را رحمت و کرم پیشه. O you clement and kind forgiver, alas, blackened is our fate and we falter. O you from whom there is nothing but munificence and favor, alas, from us there is nothing but disobedience and defiance. We are distraught by shame for our sins, but we turn to you, for you are filled with mercy and grace. Similarly, recitation of 20 ginans at times of need gives us strength, and the tradition of reciting all 500 verses of Anantakaro is widespread. However, today I want to focus on a particularly important Jamati practice that has helped us through times of crisis and beyond. In his recent Holy Tarika of this past Salgira Kushali, Maulana Hazrat Imam singled out a special group for blessings. He said, for centuries, one of the core backbones of our Jamaat has been our tradition of voluntary service. The global pandemic has challenged our volunteers in many ways. To all my volunteers, I convey my greatest admiration and best affectionate loving blessings. Ameen. As a community, we are so lucky to have volunteers staffing the access line, volunteers ensuring the safety of the Jamaat Khanas, Mukhi Karmiyas regularly checking in on the vulnerable, medical doctors and other professionals providing guidance, media professionals, translators, musicians, and artists helping to produce Friday night reflections and other online content for us, teachers providing religious and secular education for our children, members of councils, tariqah boards, and committees planning and working around the clock to serve the Imam and the Jamaat, and countless others. Do not miss out on this opportunity to volunteer. It is a blessing to serve, and there has never been a better time to come forward. The Office of Research and Policy Development of the Corporation for National and Community Service published a study bringing together decades of research on how volunteering benefits the volunteers themselves, not just those they serve. It turns out that controlling for all other variables, those who volunteer have improved physical and mental health, improved self-esteem, greater functional ability, lower rates of depression, and a greater sense of purpose in life than those who don't. Volunteering builds community, establishes friendships, reduces the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia, improves the school and college experience, develops skills, and makes people more competitive in the job market. A peer-reviewed study in the Journal of Health Psychology even found that volunteers experienced 44% lower mortality rates over a 5-year period than those who did not volunteer. And that was after adjusting for other factors, such as age, health habits, and social support. Why should any of this surprise us? Every Ismaili is familiar with the motto on the Volunteer Corps badges: work, no words. However, few realize that this is only part of Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah's message, sent to Ismaili Prakash magazine on June 11, 1954. Today, I will give you a small motto, and that is, work, no words. Labor for the welfare of others is the best way of improving ourselves, because results are sure and certain. If you work for yourselves, you are never happy. This is not a new idea, but this is an outcome of the experience of thousands of years of history. Every one of us has benefited from countless volunteers in our Jamaat. How can we also contribute? Sometimes we wonder, do I have any worthwhile skills? Am I too young? Am I too old? I was moved to my core when I read about the service of an Ismaili Murid, Rais Muzaffar, who lived almost 1,000 years ago. In the Zubdat al-Tawarikh of the 14th century Ithna Ashari historian Abul Qasim Qashani, he writes that Rais Muzaffar was a wealthy Jamati member who lived incognito among the Seljuks and owned the fortress of Girdku. For many years, the Seljuk sultans would attack Alamut, killing countless Ismailis. Once, Sultan Sanjar was traveling from Iraq to Khurasan. Hassan Sabah told Rais Muzaffar to treat the Sultan and his attendants with immense kindness and hospitality. So Rais Muzaffar arranged a royal feast and sent a shower of precious gifts for all the Sultan's commanders, viziers, and courtiers. At this time, Rais Muzaffar would have been about 90 years old. He was so old and frail that he had to be carried into the Sultan's presence on a stretcher. At that age and in that condition, he was serving the Imam and the Jamaat. Kashani writes that this gesture so moved the Sultan that he treated Rais Muzaffar with immense respect and tenderness. He placed him at a position higher than all the state ministers and granted him a special robe of honor. After his in-depth conversation with Rais Muzaffar, Sultan Sanjar never again attacked the Jamaat. A 90-year-old man on a stretcher saved the lives of thousands of Ismailis. As Kashani tells us, Rais Muzaffar passed away at the age of 101 years and 5 months, serving the Jamaat. I pray that each and every one of us can serve the Jamaat and the Imam to our last breath, just as he did. Alhamdulillah, many of our youths have taken up this call. When I was in Mombasa for meetings of the Madrasa Early Childhood Program, I went to tutor Jamaat Khana for morning ceremonies. It seemed like almost half the Jamaat comprised Ismaili youth from around the world who were in Mombasa on TKN assignments. It was an inspiration. I hope every Ismaili youth and every member of the Jamaat will get a chance to offer a time and knowledge Nazrana one day. The outstanding poet Allama Iqbal was extremely worried about the spread of materialism among Muslim youth, but he was also filled with faith that they would follow in the footsteps of their glorious ancestors in serving the community. He wrote, "Tere sofe hai afrangi, tere qaleen hai Irani, lahu mujhko rulati hai jawanon ki tan asani. उकाबी रूह जब बेदार होती है जवानों में, नजर आती है उनको अपनी मंजिल आसमानों में. नहीं तेरा नशेमंद असर सुल्तानी के गुंबद पर, तू शाही है बसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चट्टानों में." Lounging on European sofas, lazing on Persian rugs, tears of blood I weep at our youth's lavish life. But when the spirit of the eagle awakens in the youth, they see their destiny in the skies. Not upon the Sultan's dome do you build your nest. You are a falcon. You live in the rocky crags of the mountain. As a Jamaat, we are the inheritors of Wazir Ismail Gangji, Bibi Imam Begum, Rais Muzaffar, and countless others. We are falcons, and it is our destiny to fly. In his talika at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Maulana Hazrat Imam wrote to President Malik Talib, "Please convey my best paternal and my best maternal loving blessings to my worldwide Jamaat, and tell them that I think of them every minute of the day, every day. And I pray for Mushkil Asan and for their peace and happiness. Ameen." We must remain strong and prepare to build, and to build well when this crisis passes. To fulfill this firman, let us follow our ancestors' tradition of service. If every one of us contributes in whatever way we can to serving the Imam, the Jamaat, and humanity at large, we will build a better future. Thank you, and Ya Ali Madad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Virani, for sharing your thoughts with us. It is inspiring to hear the stories of our history and how we all can gain strength from them. And now, let's hear from some of you. We asked the question, what ginan or qasida has an emotional connection for you? Let's hear what you have to say.
My name is Felicia Kanji, and I have been reciting ginans in Jamaat Khana since the age of 2. Coming from a family of ginan reciters, I have been fortunate to have been exposed to so many beautiful and heart-touching ginans from a very young age. While I have more than one favorite ginan, one that is very close to my heart is the Venti ginan, Veneti Karuchu. The tune of Veneti Karuchu, as well as its meanings, is very sweet and heart-touching, which allows the ginan to be enjoyed by those who not only recite it, but listen to and contemplate on the ginan as well.
A qasida that has particular deep meaning for me is Khudawando to Sultani Karim, because it reminds me of the precious opportunity I was blessed with during the Diamond Jubilee Darbar, where I got to recite that qasida in Calgary in the presence of Maulana Hazrat Imam. Not only did I get to do Maula Baba's Didar for the first time in my life, but I also had the privilege of thanking him for his benevolence and asking him for his blessings.
Verse 8 of Tamak Musadare. Actually, I have a very long list of my favorite ginans, but this one is very, very close to my heart. And in this ginan, Pir Sadruddin has very beautifully described the emotions, the urge of seeing the Imam and how his days are going to pass without seeing the Imam. He has also given an example of a fish, that it is very hard for a fish to survive without water. Whenever I think about this ginan or I sing this ginan, this also brings me the memories of Mulaqat when Imam was here and we were so happy. We enjoyed with him. We had dandiyaras, we had garbas, Imam was joking with us. And inshallah, when Imam is gonna come again, we all will have the moment of happiness and the moment of joys.
The ginan that has touched me the most is Tari Ashkari Ne Hura by Pir Said Imam Shah. The reason I chose this ginan is because it reminds me of the importance of waking up in the morning to do my bangi, and also because it helps me understand the divine blessings that come to us when partaking in this very important ceremony.
در کل من همه قصیده ها را دوست دارم. در قصیده ها پیام های خاصی گفته شده است که با درک کردنش من در زندگیم خوبی های را آموختم و می آموزم. من در زندگیم همیشه آرزو داشتم که در حضور مولانا حاضرمان قصیده بخوانم و در جشن الماسی من یکی از خوششانس‌ها بودم تا توانستم که در جمع دیگر اشتراک کنندگان در حضور مولانا حاضرمان اجرای قصیده داشته باشم و من خیلی ها شکرگزارم که به آرزویم رسیدم و قصیده ای را که من در حضور مولانا حاضرمان اجرا نمودم قصیده ساقی با وفا بود و این یک قصیده ای است که در زندگیم یادگار خواهد ماند و با خواندنش و یا شنیدنش من همیشه احساس خوشی و آرامش خواهد کرد.
The ginan which has particular meaning to me is Hansapuri Nagari Mahe because this is often the Gatpat ginan that is recited back home, but most importantly it reminds me of the taste and smell of sukrit.
Agar bekhwani tu ashhar nasir khusrau. In this qasida, Pir Nasir Khusrau urges the moments to practice the faith and live by the ethics of the faith, not to judge others or compare yourself to others. By practicing the faith and doing good deeds, he reassures the moments that you'll surely be rewarded in the hereafter.
My favorite ginan is Ya Ali Khu Majalis. As this ginan is regarding Hazrat Imam's Takht Nashini, it gives us happiness whenever we recite this ginan. It brings me back to beautiful memories of Diamond Jubilee Darbar in Portugal. I can feel Hazrat Imam is sitting on the takht. This ginan is really close to my heart.
In 2007, at the beginning of Hazrat Imam's Golden Jubilee, Hazrat Imam came to East Africa, and at the time I was living in Uganda. So it was a really unique occasion to experience Didar in East Africa, but more than that, in Kampala, within the Jamaat Khana setting. And that's why when I think back to what really stood out for me was having that opportunity to recite such a significant ginan. It was such a magical and special time and moment.
The qasida that means the most to me is Ali Guyam, Ali Juyam. The reason behind this is that during Diamond Jubilee, this was the group that I was placed in for Hizr auditions. It reminds me of all the precious memories that were made, spending time with the family that we had created, singing, praying, hugging, and excitedly awaiting the visit from our Imam. We couldn't all make it to recite in front of our Imam, but with the bonds that were formed, it really felt as though we all had. These are the precious memories and sentiments that fill my heart and soul every time I hear Ali Guyam, Ali Juyam.
Since I was a little girl, I have loved singing ginans as it makes me feel at peace and connected to the divine. In June 2005 Didar, I had the opportunity to sing ginan in front of Maulana Hazrat Imam. I recited 2 verses of the ginan, Jeele Wala Satguru Sathe, and for that reason, that ginan has a very special place in my heart. That experience filled my heart with so much love. My faith grew even stronger. And to this day, every time I think of that experience, it just brings chills.
And while our tradition is filled with so many wonderful qasidas and ginans, the one I want to speak about tonight is Sahibji. One of my earliest memories of Sahibji is being a young child and being at home with my family and hearing my older cousin recite Sahibji for all of us. And she recited it with so much feeling that she really brought a lot of devotion and love into the room with her recitation. I feel like that's really relevant nowadays because we can't attend Jamaat Khana and we are all doing these things at home with our families. And it just shows that even though we can't go to Jamaat Khana, we still can bring those feelings into our lives and into our homes when we do things like recite our beloved ginans and qasidas.
I have selected the second verse of the ginan entitled Je Je Mangu Te Tu Hi Deve, which means, whatever I ask of you, you grant me. This ginan is significant to me because I was blessed with the opportunity to recite it in the 2018 Diamond Jubilee Mulakat in Calgary. Indeed, my wish was granted, and I am humbled.
The Granth Sokriya. This ginan is important to me because it is one of the first ginans my daughter Amara learned from me. I was given a varo for Laylatul Qadr a few years back when Amara was only 2.5 years old. As I prepared and practiced for this ginan, I recited it many times in front of Amara throughout the day, and to my surprise, she picked up this quite complex ginan in a matter of a few days. This reminded me of my own experience as I learned ginans from my mum. I also am reminded of the importance of sharing this tradition with the younger generation of the Jamaat and teaching them the important tradition of ginans. I really look forward to continuing to learn ginans and teach them to Amara, and hopefully, inshallah, with my son Rian one day.
It was so wonderful to hear from some Jamati voices on the ginans and qasidas that resonate with them, and it was really interesting to hear your thoughts. Some of the ones that were mentioned also resonated with me, so that was really, really special. And now, we end as always with some beautiful musical expressions. This week, we will enjoy one of the masters and a personal inspiration of mine, Abida Parveen, reciting my favorite piece, the Mast Qalandar, at the Aga Khan Museum. You know, I remember watching her live in Toronto a few years ago, and it was the most captivating and incredible experience I've had. So please enjoy. And join us next time as we celebrate Yom Ali. Have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, stay warm, and as always, thank you for joining us for Friday Night Reflections. Yali Madad.
लाल मेरी पत लाल मेरी पत रखियो भला झूले लालन लाल मेरी पत रखियो भला झूले लालन ओ सिंधड़ी दा ओ सेवन दो सभी शहबाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर कलंदर पाक कलंदर सेवानी लाल कलंदर अली का पहला नंबर दमादम मस्त कलंदर कलंदर पाक कलंदर सेवानी लाल कलंदर अली का पहला नंबर अली दम दम दे अंदर अली रग रग दे अंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर कलंदर शाह कलंदर कलंदर वाली कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर कलंदर मस्तो मस्त कलंदर लाल मस्तो मस्त कलंदर लाल मस्त कलंदर हक उचड़ा रोजा पीरा तेरा उचड़ा रोजा पीरा तेरा हेठ वगे ओ हेठ वगे दरिया भला झूले लालन हेठ वगे आली हक आली हक आली हक आली हक हेठ वगे दरिया भला झूले लालन सिंधड़ी दा सेवन दो सभी शाबाश मस्त कलंदर लाल मस्त मस्त कलंदर मस्त कलंदर मस्त कलंदर जनन जनन तेरी नौबत बाजी हो जनन जनन तेरी जनन जनन तेरी जनन जनन तेरी नौबत बाजी
Will be watching today, and you are making your former city so proud. What does this moment mean to you?
I mean, it's incredibly exciting. We're arriving at Mars. We've been traveling there now for 7 months, and today is the day that we're going to touch down. And I have to tell you, those last 7 minutes that are about to happen in a few hours here, I mean, they have me a bit nervous, where the team is as prepared as they can be, but so many things have to go right, and Mars is Mars. So we're anxiously waiting to see to hear that touchdown confirmed, to see those first images from Mars. But personally, as an engineer, I'm so excited that we're going to try and fly on Mars. I mean, we've only been flying on Earth for about 100 years, and now we're like flying on another planet. And actually, one of my jobs, one of the hats I wear, is that I'm the operations lead on that helicopter mission. So I've been working very closely with that mission for the past 6 months, and so for me, it's kind of also sort of the fruits of my labor that will come through when we attempt that flight.